Welcome to Stretford Paddock. I'm Ronaldo Brown, and this is the news at Old Trafford. And we've got quite a bit of news to get through actually today, so I'm not going to bore you with a soliloquy, a weather report, or one of those long monologues that we usually do, and get straight into it because there's quite a few interesting things to talk about. And with the first one, it's going to be the Austrian centre-back, or left-back should I say, from Bayern, which is David Alaba, with the first bit of news. And the news regarding David Alaba was basically a Sky report that came out that suggested that David Alaba could be a Premier League player within a fortnight, with United and Chelsea are keen on the Austrian defender, with Man City cooling their interest as they hope to include the 28-year-old in their £55 million deal with Bayern for Leroy Sané, which is quite a bit of a mouthful actually. And it was quickly debunked actually by Christian Falk, which is obviously a tier 2 journalist by Reddit sources, but is actually a tier 1 when it comes to Bayern. He's basically a Bayern in ITK, and if he says it's not true, then more than likely it isn't. And it does seem a little bit far-fetched as a bit of a link, David Alaba as well, suggesting that he, just because he didn't want to sign his new contract, etc., means that he possibly could be linked to us, who doesn't get linked to United these days actually. And I know that we've been crying out for a centre-back. We've seen the defensive frailties basically come to the fore again in the semi-final against Sevilla, and we have been looking for a centre-back that can provide a little bit of a dynamism that the likes of Lindelof and Maguire actually don't have. And we know that we see that Eric Bailly pretty much has that. He's a force when he plays, but he's always injured. He's always on the sick bed. And when it comes to Bailly, I say this for every sport. I heard it in the NFL actually. It says that the best ability is availability, and Eric Bailly is never available, and that is an issue that we need to address. And obviously with Smalling being iffy whether we'd like him to return or not, I feel like any centre-back with a little bit of notoriety, so to speak, is going to get linked to United this summer. And I think that's where the David Alaba kind of speculation has come from. He's been part of pretty much what can be regarded as the best team in Europe this season. And they've had the best defensive record in the Bundesliga. They ran away with the league, 13 points, something like that, so to speak. He's got a good pass accuracy. He's got 90.7% pass accuracy, which is considerably better than Lindelof. And if you do see him in, it is a marquee signing, but it's just one that doesn't seem feasible at all. And the fact that it's been debunked by Christian Falk just makes it seem like the interest is a little bit far-fetched. And so that's kind of my take on it, but we'll have to see how it develops. We know it's usually one of those where someone rejects a contract at their club, and then all of a sudden they're linked to everyone else, and then you kind of think, is it just a little bit of propaganda, just a little bit of like gamesmanship when it comes to his representatives, his agents, to kind of make sure that he gets the money he wants. I think he's turned down a €15 million a year, basically annual or annum kind of contract, if you can put it that way. And the fact that he's done that is just kind of fired the speculation, but we don't know whether he actually wants to leave. I don't think he'd want to leave that situation. He's 28 years old. He's pretty much in his prime. He's transitioned seamlessly from the left back to the centre back role for the club, and I think this is just a bit throwing it out there for him to get more money or just a more lucrative deal. Christian Falk has actually tweeted about half an hour ago saying that our story on Friday, there were the next negotiations between Bayern and the agent Pini Zahavi because of David Alaba. There is no agreement yet from Sport Bild, so it just seems like it's just basically, as I suggested, Alaba and the club are just basically going at war over what the contract should be, probably the clauses and the fees. And Alaba's representatives are probably throwing out there that he's disagreeing with it, and he's not making an agreement, just to fire up a little bit of interest from other clubs, which might force Bayern's hand to actually give him what he wants. And that's all I think it is. And I don't see him coming to a Premier League club, and I don't really see him being up there in the list for a United transfer. So just let me know what you think about Alaba. Would you like to see him at United? I know that he probably would do, because he's got a lot of notoriety. He's got pretty good reputation. He's been at the top of the game for a long while now, but do you really see it happening? Just let us know what you think. And with the second bit of news, it is regarding the young 23-year-old midfielder / right winger from Bournemouth, which is David Brooks, with Sports Witness suggesting that United's interest in David Brooks is rather more serious than widely assumed, and it could even be developments relatively quickly, which is a bit of an interesting one. David Brooks, as I know actually, has been out of the game for pretty much 8 months. He had 2 ankle operations, and pretty much the last time that we've seen him on the field is when he had a relatively good season with around 7 goals and 6 assists the season before last. And the fact that he's been out for so long with 2 ankle operations, we don't know if he's going to be the exact same player. But when he did play, he was a very talented young man and someone that does kind of fit the kind of ethos that United would bring. He's young and he's got potential, and he could provide quite a little bit of depth as well. He's pretty much of the Grealish mode, but obviously Grealish is a little bit more polished and a little bit more prestigious than he is. And we've obviously seen that the Grealish interest has kind of cooled. And David Ornstein actually, as I saw in a tweet yesterday, suggested that City have actually made more movements towards signing Grealish than United actually have. So David Brooks could look like a slight alternative. They're saying that David Brooks could be an alternative to Jadon Sancho, which is it's chalk and cheese. Jadon Sancho, David Brooks, it's chalk and cheese. As an alternative, it's quite a bit of a downgrade in my opinion, even though David Brooks has got a bit of talent. And it could be a cheap one though, because of the fact that Bournemouth have actually been relegated. We could get him on the cheap, and I don't see why David Brooks wouldn't want to come, but it's just where you fit him in, and would he agree to come just to be a squad depth player, because that's pretty much all he would be if he does come. He did actually come back into training before the pandemic actually started, and so we never got to see him since then. So it's a bit, I just think it's a little bit of a far-fetched speculation again, but if he does come, or the interest is actually valid, we'll have to see in the coming days, and I'm sure that we'll have it for you to report with the news. But it's not the worst of interest. He does have talent, and he could add to the squad depth that we desperately need, because as you've seen in the Sevilla game, we waited until 86th minute and so forth to actually make a change, which shows that United and Ole don't believe in the squad depth, and that is something we need to do. We've not signed anyone so far, and the season is fast approaching, so we need to basically get it going and fire up our charges next season before we get left behind. And that is it for this. Let me know about the David Brooks interest. Are you a fan of the player? Do you think it's talented enough to come, and do you see it happening? Yeah, the last bit of news is, as I've just said, is Dean Henderson, which has been reported by ESPN. We're not sure how reliable ESPN always usually are, but we'll not speak about that. We're here to report the news, not about the credibility. But Sheffield United are considering to make a loan offer to United for Dean Henderson, despite just agreeing a fee for Bournemouth Aaron Ramsdale, which at first impressions makes absolutely no sense. If they've signed a young keeper in Aaron Ramsdale, supposedly to be the number one, then it's quite odd that they would actually want to loan Dean Henderson again. Obviously, he had an exceptional season from last season, and it doesn't seem too far-fetched why they'd want him back. But if the fact that they spent big money, or they spent a bit of money on a supposed number one keeper, it kind of garners the question, why would they then want to loan Dean Henderson again and then probably stunt Aaron Ramsdale's growth? But it just depends on what United want, really. If United are in the kind of mindset of feeling like Dean Henderson is going to replace De Gea next season, because De Gea has been more than iffy for about a few years now, and I think the patience is wearing a little bit thin when it comes to David De Gea. And if you want to move on to Dean, then we could obviously get in the way of that. But if Sheffield United want to loan him again, and we give De Gea one more season to kind of prove himself, after, we can't forget, he's pretty much been exceptional for a decade with a few minor hiccups. So it depends how quickly you want to give up on him. But as I've already been on the record saying, if you want to progress, and if you want to just get out of the doldrums of fighting for fourth and being Arsenal football, we need to be competing at the top, as I said with Trevor the other day when I was on a watch along. And we just need to improve at every single position. But keeping at Sheffield United and keeping at Manchester United are two completely different things, and we're yet to see that he can live up to that. The pressure's on, the shot stops come few and far between. You've got to be more concentrated for longer periods of the game, and you might not have to save as much, and there's just an added bit of pressure keeping for United, and we don't know if Dean Henderson is up to it yet. So maybe another season out on loan might benefit him in terms of basically consolidating himself as a marquee Premier League keeper that we can rely on. Before we choose to get rid of De Gea, De Gea's on an incredibly lucrative deal. His contract is crazy, so the fact that if he stays here, he's got to play, and that's the bottom line of it. And if he's not going to play and you want Dean Henderson to come in, then you just get rid of De Gea at this in the meantime, and ship him off to Real Madrid as he wanted a couple of seasons ago. But I don't know, man. The Dean Henderson one's just a bit of a interesting one for me. I'm kind of on the fence whether I'd want to keep him or whether and get rid of De Gea because he's kind of cost us in recent times, or just want to stick with the man that's been so good to us in the past? So it's a bit of a dilemma, but that's my opinion, and you let us know what you think. Do you want De Gea to basically be our keeper next season, or are you right with Dean Henderson taking Sheffield United, the Sheffield United opportunity and going back on loan? Just let us know what you think. So that was the news. I'm Ronaldo Brown, and thanks for watching. We're going to have all the news for you, and every single day. Transfer season, Edward with the Glazers, stick your foot out. We need to get him in. We need to make progression. We've seen every other clubs are doing their deals quick, and we need to speed ours up, and you're going to have all of it here for you on Stretford, Paddock. So remember to like, comment and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in a bit.